Psychological aids are used to enhance mental performance before an event or a game. These type of aids are non-substance based, unlike some of the other types that the athletes may use to enhance their sporting performance. Before performing, it is important that athletes reach their optimal level of arousal. At this peak, the athlete is more likely to perform better because they feel most confident and fired up about what they're about to do. Being too calm will affect their performance and could lead to mistakes because they aren't fully concentrating on the event they're about to take part in. However, also being wired up and energetic could affect your performance, as it can lead to false starts when taking part in track events of the heptathlete. A number of studies have suggested that using music as a psychological aid helps to focus athletes before they perform. The use of music alongside mental thinking to help aid the performance of an athlete is called dissociation. Individual athletes such as sprinters and shot putters rely on this type of arousal to help them focus on their events. Team sports are less likely to use it because they have each other in a team to help hype each other up before an event or game, such as relay or hockey. Disassociation is where an athlete is able to disconnect from their surroundings and just focus on what they are about to do. Listening to music allows athletes to forget about any pain or ache, the sound of the crowd, and just feel channeled into what they are about to do. This is important for a heptathlete because if they need to be able to forget about past events that may not have gone as they had hoped, or they just need to focus on an event that they are about to do, as it could make up for the last event. On the other hand, they may also use music as an aid to help calm them down after an event. For example, if they just won the 100-metre hurdles, they may be really hyped up and excitable. However, they then need to calm and refocus themselves so that they perform well in the high jump without making any mistakes. Being able to use music to change how you feel will physiologically help the athlete when performing. The second way that music can help an athlete is by regulating arousal levels. Arousal is linked to the levels of anxiety which an athlete experiences, which links to physical and psychological factors. According to Dennehy, BelievePerform.com, music has the ability to alter emotional and physiological arousal and can be used before an event to calm anxious feelings. If an athlete has experienced levels of anxiety before a 100-metre hurdle sprint, they may listen to motivational and empowering sports speeches or videos, as this increases levels of confidence, therefore increasing arousal, helping them reach a maximal performance level. However, they may also listen to calming music if they are hyped up already and need cooling down before they race. Listening to slow music may help an athlete to come down and reach their optimum level of arousal, and they are then able to regulate how they feel. Athletes all have different arousal levels which allow them to perform to their best ability. Suffering from being under-aroused leads to poor performance because the athlete is not hyped up enough and is too relaxed, whereas an athlete can also be over-aroused, which means they are too psyched up and excitable, making them jumpy and really quite reactive. For an athlete to be successful in their event, they must reach an optimum arousal level. For a heptathlete in a sprinting event, this means they will be quite calm, focused, but they must have a lower arousal so they get a good start when the start gun goes, as being too excited will cause reaction time to be too fast and they may risk being disqualified for a full start. However, if the heptathlete is taking part in events such as a long jump, they may encourage the crowd to psych them up. As the event only lasts for a short amount of time and is very fiery because of the short sprint than the jump, the crowd help to increase arousal levels. Athletes competing in this sort of event rely on a higher arousal level. Being more excitable and energetic, their body is able to prepare for what is about to happen. The crowd clapping and cheering louder means that the athlete feels more stimulated, which can make neural impulses to be sent through the brain to the muscles faster and more efficiently. This means that when the heptathlete takes part in their event, they are more likely to be able to jump further because their muscular contractions are more rapid, therefore they can gather more speed in their sprint. Music also acts as an aid when the athletes visualize how they are going to perform. According to BelievePerform.com, this is called synchronizations. They state that the tempo of the music that an athlete listens to can affect how they move. They would be able to synchronize their movement to the beat of the music, helping them to visualize how they will tackle an event. Using music like this could be helpful for a heptathlete because the range of events that they have to compete in If they can find a song for each sport, it means that they will be able to find a pattern of movement to follow. Listening to this music before the event begins would then allow them to compete on the beat that is playing over in their head. For example, if they're about to compete in the 100-metre hurdles, they may listen to music beforehand which is fast-paced as they are about to perform a sprint. However, it has a beat in it to synchronise with the jump over the hurdles. By training with this music and then listening to it before the event, they can focus on their form to make sure that they succeed in the event. According to Strum 2016, when the brain is listening to music, it tends to light up. It is an ideal stimuli because it reaches parts of the brain that cannot be easily reached. Music affects many different parts of the brain, one of them being the motor cortex. This is located in the parietal lobe and regulates the body's motor function. The motor system is part of the central nervous system where impulses are sent through the body's neural pathways to the muscle fibers, allowing muscular contractions to occur. If an athlete listens to music which stimulates this part of the brain before they start an event, it is more likely that they will perform better. This is because the muscles that are needed for the athlete to perform are being pre-stimulated before the event begins. This allows signals to be transmitted a lot faster to the working muscles. In turn, this means that the coordination of the muscles will be more efficient because the part of the brain that sends the signals to the muscles is stimulated, which is critical for an athlete's performance. Having muscles that work more efficiently will be beneficial for the heptathlete in the 200 metres because if they can produce muscular contractions faster, it means they are more likely to be able to overtake people in the race as they are able to pick up speed quicker than the other athletes on the track. This means they will reduce their race time and have a greater chance of winning at their event. The use of music in this way also links to a second physiological aid, which is imagery. Imagery is a way that athletes prepare for an event. Many athletes visualize a movement to help them plan how they are going to be successful. According to Brian Mack, it involves an athlete imagining themselves competing in their event and using their senses such as their sight, hearing, touch and smell to perform an activity successfully. Using this alongside music means they are able to stimulate their mental state to help them rehearse what they are about to do in their sport. If they follow the beat of a certain song whilst imagining the movements they are going to make, it can make it easier to rehearse the event in their head. For example, they may use a fast-paced then slow-paced song for high jump, as this would allow them to mentally rehearse the speed that they need to run at, and then they would feel less intense as they are moving through the air in the jumping phase of the event. This could prove especially important for a heptathlete who does a range of events such as the high jump, shot put and 200 metres, as using mental rehearsal means that they will be able to regain focus on the event they are about to do and hopefully move on in their thoughts from the previous one. Using this type of imagery will help athletes build on their strength and also address their weaknesses before they begin competing, lowering the risk of something going wrong when they are actually taking part in their event. According to Brian Mack, mental imagery can be used to familiarise an athlete with the competition. For example, the heptathlete may use it to visualise the distance that they are going to aim to throw the javelin. This would be an advantage to them because it means they can go over their form and movements they are going to make at certain times, allowing them to remember this and when they take part in the event. It also means they may feel more motivated because if they can visualise themselves throwing the javelin at a certain distance, they may believe in themselves, see success, therefore making them feel more confident, which adds a benefit to performance levels as they take their throw. Using imagery can heighten arousal levels, but it can also lower it, depending on what you need to reach your optimal level. This optimal level is where the athlete is most likely to succeed because they are most channeled into how their body is feeling. Using imagery can help increase arousal levels because it makes the athlete focus on what they are about to do. This can make them excited and fired up. Doing this means that the athlete focuses on what muscles they are going to use and how their form is going to look. This stimulates the muscles, preparing them for exercise as the neural pathways are activated. Using imagery can lower arousal levels because it allows athletes to zone out of the crowd and just focus on the event they are about to do. This is important for a heptathlete because when they are having to move to different events, it gives them time to think about how they are going to perform. This increases their level of success. Targeted and controlled imagery can help to improve the power of muscles because, according to Hamilton, when preparing for an event, imagery can stimulate relevant electrical signals to the relevant muscles. By doing this as preparation, the efficiency of the muscles will be increased because impulses are able to travel to the fibres faster. When athletes use imagery before an event, they are mentally working through how a certain performance or skill is going to go. Jacobson, 1930, came up with the psychoneuromuscular theory, which suggested that when an individual mentally imagines a skill, they activate neural pathways in the brain. These pathways are identical to those that you activate when performing a skill or an event in real life. For example, the heptathlete could use imagery to imagine themselves on the blocks preparing for the 200-meter sprint. By imagining their posture and form, their neural pathways in their brain will be stimulated. This allows tiny impulses in the muscles to occur in the areas that you are imagining using. This trains the brain to focus on the most important areas of the body. If the athlete was to now imagine the starting shot being fired and them leaving the blocks, they can mentally stimulate more impulses in their muscles before the event even begins. This means that when they line up on the blocks to begin the race, their muscles will be prepared and ready to work to their maximum. Their neural pathways through their brain, nervous system, and into the muscle fibers have been heightened. This adjustment of motor behavior from the brain to the muscles means that muscular contractions can occur much faster because the pathway for the impulse to travel down is a lot clearer. Therefore, when the athlete powers off the blocks, their muscles can contract rapidly, allowing them to power away from the other contestants on the track, giving them the advantage and increasing the chance of them winning the race.